A tempest roared outside the clinic. Rain pounded the windows like a rhythmic pulse, mirroring the dread in Caleb's heart. He slouched on a chilly plastic seat in the emergency ward, his face buried in his palms, shoulders quaking under fear's heavy burden. The sterile scent of the ER, the beeping machines, and nurses' soft hum blended into a haze. Beyond those double doors, his 6-year-old daughter Sophie battled for breath after a sudden asthma crisis left her gasping faintly. He kept reliving the moment she crumpled in his embrace, her small fingers gripping him tightly before falling slack. Now, alone and petrified, he struggled to stay composed, his mind a whirlwind of worry and doubt. That's when a woman settled beside him, her serene presence slicing through the turmoil like a gentle breeze after a violent storm. She stayed silent at first, simply resting a warm, steady hand on his arm, offering quiet comfort. When she spoke, her voice was gentle yet profound, its weight pulling his gaze from despair to meet hers for the first time, stirring a flicker of hope. That morning, life already felt crushing for Caleb, a single father. He balanced 2 jobs, tending bar at night and stacking shelves before sunrise, to keep a home for Sophie. Sleep was a distant memory. Every bit of him poured into her stability since her mother left years back. That day, Sophie had giggled, chasing bubbles in their tiny yard until she clutched her chest, air eluding her grasp. Panic consumed him as he rushed her to the hospital, praying at every stoplight they'd make it in time, his heart pounding with desperate urgency. Now, amid the buzz of fluorescent lights and distant patient sobs, guilt squeezed him tight, a relentless grip. Had he overlooked a warning sign? Worked too much, leaving her exposed to danger? The weight of these thoughts pressed harder, threatening to break his resolve. The woman beside him shifted, a refined coat grazing his faded jeans, a subtle contrast to his weariness. Her dark hair framed a face etched with strength, her eyes carrying more than mere pity, a depth of understanding. "Breathe," she murmured, as if sensing his chest constricting under the strain. "She needs you calm now," she added, her voice a quiet command that urged him to listen like a lifeline in his drowning. As the night dragged on, Caleb found himself speaking despite his usual reserve, sharing Sophie's vibrant spirit. He described her passion for sketching dragons on old paper, how she made him feel he might not be failing entirely, her laughter a light in his dark world. The stranger listened, nodding gently, her gaze steady, her presence a silent anchor. She introduced herself as Margaret, offering no further details. Yet her quiet attention felt like a gift. What Caleb didn't yet know was Margaret's own story, a billionaire widow who built her life in boardrooms, only to lose her husband in a crash 2 years earlier. She was at the ER for a charity follow-up, but was drawn to the shattered man beside her, echoing nights she'd waited for unchangeable news. Her own grief mirrored his, a bond unspoken but deeply felt, connecting their solitary struggles. When the doctor appeared, saying Sophie was stable but needed overnight watch, Caleb's legs nearly buckled with relief, a wave of gratitude washing over him. He thanked the doctor, then turned to find Margaret still there, her hand on the chair grounding him to reality. Gratitude surged, raw and deep, warming his frozen heart. For the first time that night, he felt seen, no longer invisible in his pain. The moment lingered, a quiet promise of connection amid the chaos, as if fate had woven their paths together for a reason. The next day, Caleb stayed by Sophie's bed, holding her hand as she rested, her breathing now steady. Margaret returned, bringing 2 coffee cups, their warmth a small comfort in the sterile room. She sat quietly, honoring the room's delicate calm until she spoke, her voice soft yet firm. "You're tougher than you know," she said, eyes on Sophie's pale face. "But you don't have to do it solo." Her words unlocked his unshed tears, the truth of his exhaustion from being everything, a burden he'd carried alone for too long. Margaret offered no pity, only presence, a steady light in his shadowed world. Over days she visited, bringing Sophie a sketchbook and colored pencils, listening to Caleb's tales of once dreaming to design buildings before life shifted his path. Her visits became a lifeline, each moment shared easing the weight of his fears. Knitting their stories closer together, she shared her own loss, how wealth didn't shield her from grief, how loneliness haunted even vast homes, a truth that resonated with Caleb's own struggles. Their talks built a bridge over pain, each finding comfort in the other's truth, a solace neither expected. As Sophie healed, Caleb grappled with new hope, a risky feeling after years of just surviving, yet Margaret's steady kindness made retreating behind his walls harder. One evening, as sunset cast golden rays into the room, she said, "Sometimes life sends someone when we're too weary to stand alone." Her words settled deep, a spark of possibility in his guarded heart. The hospital room, once cold, now felt alive with the warmth of their growing bond, a testament to shared resilience. Weeks later, Sophie was released, her laughter like music in a long, quiet room, a sound that lifted Caleb's spirit. Caleb left the hospital, holding Sophie's hand, but his eyes sought Margaret, who stood near the entrance, her face warm yet enigmatic. For a moment, they were silent, the air heavy with unspoken meaning. Then she smiled, a subtle curve promising something tender yet real, a connection forged in shared vulnerability. Caleb realized this wasn't just gratitude. It was two souls, bruised by life, finding light in each other, a fragile yet powerful bond. As they stepped into fresh air, Sophie skipped ahead, her small backpack bouncing, her joy a stark contrast to the storm they'd endured. Caleb glanced at Margaret, feeling a peace absent for years, a quiet hope for a future beyond mere survival. He didn't know their path ahead, but for the first time since that near-breaking night, he trusted in possibility. The storm clouds parted, revealing a sky clear and brimming with quiet promise, a new chapter waiting to unfold.